Teaching textbooks has been a game changer for me, and these are the reasons why. I don't think anyone is entirely unemotional about this subject. Either math was something that you were good at in school and you connected with, you understood, you liked, or it was a source of stress. Teaching math, especially in the upper grades, is a reason that moms are like totally terrified to homeschool or to homeschool into high school. I'm Danielle, homeschooling mom of 7. Welcome to my channel. I am a second-generation homeschooler, so I also have the experience of what I used when I was learning and what my siblings used because my mom homeschooled all 6 of us. I am not telling you, oh, this is the curriculum you should use or this is the philosophy you should have. I am just sharing with you what I do, how I've done it in the past, and what I like and what I don't like. All right, I want to preface this chat by saying that I don't think that you should ever be daunted by math. And I'm not telling you that because I'm some sort of a math prodigy. I do remember being taught it by my dad and crying because I couldn't get concepts. I guess you could call me an average math learner. I think that moms are amazing. I think that parents who choose to homeschool are amazing. We are all on an enormous learning curve when it comes to homeschooling. It is never a thing that you just arrive at. You're like, oh, I suddenly have it figured out. I currently love this system. I like to use Abeka in the early grades. I love Abeka math because it is colorful, it is engaging, and it has enough repetition and consistency to where your children can really learn the concepts. However, I need to do a disclaimer here. If your child is 5, 6, and under, I don't think a textbook is the best way to teach them, but I do use textbooks with my 5-year-old. And the reason is this. I think it's really valuable for him to practice his numbers because he wants to write them. So having a structured math book where he can practice his numbers. But really, the best way to teach math in the early grades is with your fingers. With word problems. Hey, you and your brother are out at the woodpile and suddenly your sister comes. How many people are at the woodpile when you're cooking? Okay, I have 2 carrots here. I'm gonna add 2 more carrots. Wow, look at that. How many carrots do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then progress to teaching them tens. So helping them group tens all the time. If they can be really competent and confident in grouping tens, it'll help them in every other larger addition problem and every other larger subtraction problem. We have 10 here. We can separate into 3 and 7. We can separate it into 8 and 2. We can separate it into 5 and 5. So with my older children, I did Abeka math much later into the grades. I did not like the way it got very textbooky, very repetitive, and there was just a little bit more busy work than I like to give my kids. I am a firm believer in once they get concepts, not to belabor the point, okay? If they are doing multiplication that is 3 numbers by 3 numbers and you have 20 problems that's working like that, it's really tedious. And once they get it, don't overdo it. When my daughter was going into 6th grade is when I changed to teaching textbooks. I have a ton of kids and constantly having to grade their work to make sure they were getting the concepts, to make sure they were getting their problems right. It's really time consuming. If you have access to a computer, I know it's a little pricey, but now that you can do it all online, it's really comparable if you get a whole package where you get the teacher's manual and the answer key of any type of curriculum. And I like that the lecture is read out loud. I changed over to teaching textbooks with my first 2 children. Then suddenly my son, at the time he was in 3rd grade, he said, I want to do my math online. I was like, you know what? If you can work a mouse, I would love it if you do your math online. I would love it if it would check your work for you. He finished his 3rd grade math, and then I went right to 5th grade. Now, the reason is Abeka is, to me, it's kind of advanced. It moves kind of rapidly. And I think Singapore math is the same. If you finish 3rd grade, teaching textbooks is not as advanced. So I skip a grade right off the bat. You don't have to do that. You can also take the grade that they're going into and give them just a huge confidence boost because they're doing all of these problems. It's easy for them. They've done it before, and you can do a year like that. You could do whatever you want, whatever works good for your kids. I just noticed that it starts out so easy and gradually builds. Every single grade goes over all of the fundamentals. And I really liked that. That is what we do. I really like it. It's a great system for me right now. In fact, my third grader just said, I want to go to, so this is my fourth child. He just said, I want to go and do my work on the computer as well. So I've actually transitioned earlier with my fourth child. It's like, as soon as you can operate that computer. I have to tell you a great hack for getting your kids ready for multiplication. Get yourself a CD for skip counting. It was absolutely the best thing I did. And I'll tell you a story. I've had that CD playing in the car for a while, helping my 10-year-old now get his skip counting, get his multiplication facts in. But this is just skip counting. And then when I started my 7-year-old learning his multiplication, suddenly he's like, okay, he's already counting by 8s and he's counting by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40.
6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. 42, Mom.
Very good. So for multiplication, preparation, learn skip counting. I really love that. And then as you're teaching it, 0s, 1s, 2s. 2s are easy because it's just double. Then 10s and 11s, 5s. Okay, so those are all so easy. And then go for 9s and teach them this trick. What's 9 times 8? Count 1 back from the 8 and then add the number that equals 9. So in this case, it would be 7 and 2. So I always say this. All right, what's 9 times 5? Count 1 back from the 5. That's 40. What do you add to 40 equal 9? 5. That's 45. 9 times 5 is 45. And I just make sure I have about 3 times where I've said it through. And they start to memorize it. So that's a great tip for 9s all the way through 12. What is 9 times 9? Count 1 back from the 9, which is 80. And what do you add to that 8 to equal 9? 81. Younger ages, use manipulatives. Don't worry too much about your textbook. Just talk to them about math concepts. And I don't mean say, okay, this is a math concept. Just talk to them in math problems. So what about those later grades? What about when your kids get into algebra and geometry? I have to tell you that right now with my son, who's still very needs me at every stage of his learning, we do our math together. We do his math together. It's pre-algebra. I'm relearning right along with him all the things that I've forgotten. Anything that I can't get, like with my daughter who is learning it herself, she's in Algebra 2. I asked my husband, if you don't have a husband who's better at math than you, these teaching textbooks, they do have, if you get the problem wrong twice, you can go in and watch the solution. So I will watch it with my daughter and we will figure out the steps in order to figure out the problem. In teaching textbooks, you can go right in as the teacher and look at their work and see the problems that they had to do twice. You can see the problems they got wrong. But that's great because then I can isolate, all right, they're having trouble with this concept. Let me work with them a little bit more on that. Or I'll tell them, okay, do all the easy ones first, and then I will help you with all these harder ones. And then there's tutors. And you probably have someone in your family that's good at math that can help you. Just think outside the box, but don't decide not to homeschool, even decide not to homeschool in high school because you're concerned about the math part of teaching. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys just keep doing what you're doing and being amazing at it. No one can mom your kids like you. I'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe.